I'm living my best life and y'all can't take that from me.
And the D is
fire.
Seems like Gypsy has a Pete Davidson of her own after she's been all over the internet with half of the public loving it and the other half not so much. And following her release, she has been doing press conferences to share her story and what's to come. But it was while she was on The View when those watching couldn't help but to be confused and shocked. From the moment Gypsy left prison at 3:30 a.m. on December 28th, cameras were already right by her side. And with exclusive interviews and even book deals, she has been a very busy girl. Although it seems like the public is split about their opinions on Gypsy, as many feel sympathy about her story and want her to live out her best life, and on the other hand, some people believe she needs more help and could be manipulative herself, with some believing she should still be behind bars. Well, regardless, she has been making a ton of media appearances on her own TikTok, Instagram, and every single post I look at. She's made it known that she's been an advocate and to raise awareness and potentially help those who suffered the same past as her, and help them find an escape, not the same way Gypsy did. And during her interview on The View, there was one particular question that made the internet go crazy, and that could never be a good sign. But Gypsy was sharing how she dealt with her situation the wrong way. Yes, she escaped her mother's years of harm, which included getting a feeding tube, numerous surgeries, and made Gypsy stay in a wheelchair even though she was perfectly healthy. But ultimately, she and her boyfriend at the time, Nicholas Godejohn, took Dee Dee's life, who was Gypsy's mother. And Gypsy actually had to clarify what she did was wrong after a little miscommunication happened on The View. It begins as Gypsy states, "You are not alone in this situation, there are other ways out, and I did the wrong way." Before Joy, one of the co-hosts, replies and says, "Don't say that, you had no choice." And just so we're on the right page, Gypsy's talking about the events of taking her mother's life. So for Joy to say she had no choice raised a bunch of eyebrows and even turned some heads. And good thing Gypsy was media trained or something, because she responded with something quite good. She stated, "I did something wrong and I paid my dues for it." And Joy replies with, "Oh, that part of it. Akko taco, am I right?" And Gypsy even told Joy that ending someone's life is wrong. I think this was some miscommunication because Joy genuinely seemed shocked when she realized what was going on. Her facial expressions also became a meme of its own. Take a look. Silence is loud. I mean, you could tell how this unfolded and it could have been even more uncomfortable, but on television for everyone to see is a little bit extra to the air. And the response from the public have been all over the place, with one user on X, formerly known as Twitter, said, "I just threw my phone."
It was at this moment that he knew.
Can't believe that man just threw his phone into the water instead of his fish. But yeah, a lot of viewers watching this clip are not only in disbelief, but definitely took something serious and found some miscommunication in there. Another user replied to the video and said, "I'm sorry, I kinda love her press tour. She's been media trained down." And to that I say, good for you, Gypsy. I barely think at all, let alone during that situation, and I think I would have passed out if I was her. Others have been criticizing the other hosts on the talk show for talking over one another, but those replies to those complaints, right? It's The View, that's basically all they do. Plus, some controversial opinions have sparked debate, as one user said, "She really didn't have any other way out through her mom. Had the world convinced she's mentally handicapped, they wouldn't believe anything she said," with many agreeing. I think this topic is quite hard to understand, especially because we don't know the full story. Plus, I get both sides of the public's reaction. What do you think, and what are your thoughts on Gypsy's story and the internet fame she got right away? Because some have also argued it's great to have millions of followers and a platform, but with a big platform comes big responsibility, I think is what Uncle Ben or something once said. Plus, I can't get over Gypsy's response because it could have been a very different video if she responded a different way. But regardless, the hosts all laughed about it, including Joy, when she realized what just happened. And of course, that is not the only awkward interaction Gypsy has had since her release, as she's been followed by paparazzi everywhere. And I think it's only time before she has her own reality show. One of the things Gypsy did following her release was shopping for shoes, of course, and there's actually a photo of her trying the shoes on at the store. Okay, work it, Gypsy. Let's see some 5-inch heels with red bottoms next. Just kidding. And if you're wondering what's so awkward about shoe shopping, well, it's actually the interaction I had with Paparazzi after buying the shoes. Did you catch it? It was when the paparazzi asked if she had any plans, literally hours within her leaving prison. I haven't actually seen many people talking about this interaction, but when I first saw it, I was like, wow, literally me if I was paparazzi. It was just a choice of question, but do you think that paparazzi encounter was awkward or was it just me? I didn't even think this type of fame was possible, especially after spending 7 years behind bars, and within the first few days of walking out, you're one of the biggest and most talked about topics and people. Rolling Stones even published an article with the title saying she's been yassified and claimed Gypsy as the internet's latest girl boss. She's been posting all over her social media with regular updates, including her outfits of the days, while doing press conferences. And now that she's no longer behind bars, she's actually able to spend quality time with the man she married while she was still in prison. In 2022, Gypsy tied the knot with Ryan Scott Anderson, who they first got to know after when Ryan watched an HBO special about Gypsy's story and decided to write to her. Even though Gypsy has acknowledged she had hundreds of men who would write to her in prison expressing their love, Ryan was the lucky guy. And because they had a small ceremony in prison, they have plans to have a proper wedding now that it doesn't have to be held in prison. Ryan actually spoke to people and described how Gypsy deserves a white dress moment and how every female deserves it. Plus, it seems like Gypsy already picked out every specific detail for dress because when somebody asked her, Ryan was shocked how specific Gypsy wanted things and wanted to be able to give her that moment. And while we're on the topic of Ryan, the internet also had a huge reaction to Ryan's allegedly huge personality. I'm sure Gypsy is not entirely new at receiving internet hate, especially because she's been in the spotlight since she was young. But her partner Ryan skyrocketed to fame when Gypsy was released, and that led to comments that were mostly based on his looks to be everywhere. And Gypsy came to his defense. She basically told him not to listen to the haters because both of them love each other and nobody else matters. Plus, she added a few extra words about Ryan as she shares how the haters are just jealous because he's the one rocking her world every night, and added that the D is fire. Happy wife, happy life. And to be honest, most reactions to Gypsy's words have been people laughing and thought her response was,
"That was too good. Let's get the bell."
Gypsy has actually acknowledged numerous times that she definitely didn't take the right approach when it came to the situation her mom put her in. But at the time, she thought it was her only way out. And this was after years of going through it, as her mom would constantly lie to health officials and get away with it. Plus, if they had any suspicion or didn't believe Gypsy needed the procedures Dee Dee stated, then she would bring Gypsy to another doctor until one would actually continue. This resulted in Gypsy being forced to use a feeding tube, have her head shaved because her mom said she was suffering from leukemia, and could find her into a wheelchair. As terrifying as that all is, that's just a little taste of what Gypsy really went through. There was even a time Gypsy recalled her mother bringing her home and chaining her to the bed for 2 weeks. Plus, every time Gypsy resisted, her mother was able to manipulate her right back and listening to everything she said. In fact, once Dee Dee's body was found, police were actually frantically searching for Gypsy as they really did believe she was unable to take care of herself. Her wheelchair and all her medications were found at the home, so some thought that she was taken. So now that she's officially been out of prison for almost 2 weeks, what now? One thing's for sure, and that is Gypsy is a huge Swiftie. Her dad Rod would send her Taylor's albums while she was still behind bars and sent her the re-released albums as well. One of Gypsy's first plans since being released was to attend a Kansas City Chiefs game. Not for football, but mainly to have a chance of seeing Taylor Swift herself. But due to the extreme media attention she's been receiving, she actually wasn't allowed to attend due to safety reasons. So maybe she'll finally meet Taylor one day. But speaking about Taylor, Kim Kardashian, who has had a fair share of feuds with Taylor, was also rumored to be collaborating with Gypsy. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And the rumor started after one TikTok user talked about how she predicted Gypsy would be a Skims model because it aligns with Kim's views on justice reform. And Kim actually liked that TikTok, which sparked rumors, so I wonder if Gypsy Rose and Kim Kardashian collab will be coming out or not. One thing's for sure, and that is her family is very happy to welcome her back after everything that happened, and they threw her a welcome home party with decorations, cake, and a bottle of bubbly to get the party started. Where's my invite, Gypsy? Her dad Rod was actually distanced from Gypsy early on in her life after Dee Dee made several claims about Gypsy's health, and with no reason to think she was lying, he did believe them. Plus, as Gypsy got older, Rod would call the home asking to talk to Gypsy, but Dee Dee would turn him away. And after they moved further away because of Hurricane Katrina and that ruined their home, Dee Dee had even more control over Gypsy than ever before. And it didn't help that she didn't have any friends, attend school, or be allowed to have any interactions with other kids unless her mother approved. And because Gypsy was so sheltered, the only thing she knew outside her home was Disney movies, which she said herself doesn't tell you the red flag of bad parents. From the social media fame, awkward interview to fire D's, it seems like Gypsy is adjusting into the real world in a way I definitely didn't expect. But of course, I want to hear all your thoughts surrounding her. I've seen so many people torn about if social media fame can actually cause more harm than good, so if you have any opinions on that, please share. And if you made it this far, I'm Melanie with Inform Overload, and thank you for watching. I'll be sure to see you next time. Bye bye.